Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Travis Decker. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Travis Caleb Decker was born on August 15, 1992, and lived in Wenatchee, Washington. This town of 35,000 people is 148 miles east of Seattle. Sometime around 2015, Travis married a woman named Whitney. The couple went on to have 3 daughters, Peyton in 2016, Evelyn in 2017, and Olivia in 2019. Travis served in the Army and was stationed in Afghanistan. In 2021, he transferred to the Washington National Guard. Travis and his wife Whitney divorced in 2023. They agreed on a parenting plan which split responsibilities. There did not appear to be any problems at first, but eventually Whitney became concerned about the arrangement. Travis was living a transient lifestyle and having difficulty maintaining a stable environment for his daughters. In September 2024, Whitney asked the court to modify the plan, saying, quote, "Since our separation, it has become increasingly clear that Travis has been struggling to maintain stability in his life, particularly with securing a consistent place to live and establishing a predictable schedule. This lack of stability has, unfortunately, had a negative impact on our children," unquote. Whitney mentioned that Travis had some extreme personality traits, saying, quote, "He was in the Army for many years, and upon separation from the Army and transition into the reserves, his borderline personality disorder and narcissism became rampant," unquote. Despite Whitney's concerns, she was not trying to prevent Travis from seeing his daughters. She stated, quote, "Travis has made huge sacrifices to serve our country and loves his girls very much, but he has got to get better for our girls. I do not want to keep Travis from the girls at all. To the contrary, I have bent over backwards to facilitate that relationship," unquote. There were a couple of specific events which caused a particularly high level of concern to Whitney. For example, on August 15, 2023, Travis allegedly found one of his daughters with a bathrobe tied around her neck at his mother's house. She was unconscious. He did not notify Whitney about what happened. And on December 19, 2023, one of his daughters injured her fingers when Travis was allegedly absent and unresponsive. On September 24, 2024, the court ordered Travis Decker to be assessed for anger management and domestic violence by a mental health professional in Spokane, and he was required to attend mental health counseling sessions twice a month. The court modified the visitation schedule for Travis Decker's children. Travis could see his daughters every other weekend with restricted hours. On Friday, visitation was from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., on Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., and on Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. There would be no overnight visits, and Travis had to stay in the Wenatchee Valley. Travis argued that his visitation should not be restricted, claiming his children could learn from his current situation. The judge disagreed due to concerns about the instability surrounding his lifestyle. Travis was homeless. He lived in his white 2017 GMC Sierra pickup truck and frequently stayed in motels or at campgrounds. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On Friday, May 30, 2025, at 5 p.m., Travis Decker picked up his 3 daughters in accordance with the court-ordered visitation schedule. He picked them up from Whitney's residence. He was supposed to return them to Whitney by 10 p.m. At 11:34 p.m., Whitney went to the Wenatchee Police Department and told them that her ex-husband failed to return their 3 children as prescribed by the court. She attempted to call Travis several times, but the calls went directly to voicemail. The police checked data from automatic license plate readers in the area and found that Travis Decker's pickup truck had been captured traveling north on the Wenatchee Bridge at 5:41 p.m. They believed he may have driven to a campsite. The police checked various places in the area where Travis may have been, but they could not find him. On Monday, June 2, 2025, Travis failed to show up for work. A warrant was issued for his arrest for 3 counts of custodial interference in the first degree. That same day, at 3:56 p.m., Travis Decker's pickup truck was found near the Rock Island campground west of Leavenworth, Washington. This location is about 11 miles from the Pacific Crest Trail and about 94 miles south of the Canadian border. About 300 feet from his truck, the bodies of his 3 daughters, ages 9, 8, and 5, were found down an embankment. They had plastic bags over their heads and marks on their wrists consistent with being zip-tied. The police recovered zip ties in the area. Travis Decker's dog was found in the vicinity and placed in the care of the Humane Society. A warrant was issued for Travis Decker's arrest. He was facing 3 counts of aggravated murder in the first degree and 3 counts of kidnapping in the first degree. As the investigation continued, the police found curious internet searches that Travis made on May 26, 2025. This was just 4 days before he picked up his daughters. Travis searched the terms, "How does a person move to Canada?" "How to relocate to Canada," and "Jobs Canada." Investigators also learned that Travis had not attended a National Guard drill in about a year, and consequently had a pending disciplinary discharge. At the time I'm making this video, Travis Decker is still on the run, but the police believe they are closing in. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. The evidence against Travis Decker doesn't look too good for him. For example, Travis was not happy about the custody arrangement, which gave him a motive. His daughters were found dead a few days after he picked them up. The bodies were not far from Travis Decker's pickup truck. His blood was found at the campsite, and Travis is missing. Despite the evidence, it is important to note that Travis Decker maintains the presumption of innocence. Item number 2. When Travis Decker was in the military, he received training in survival skills and navigating woodland and mountain terrain. Travis once lived off the grid for about 2.5 months. He has a lot of experience hiking, camping, and hunting. In many of the cases involving a suspect who plans to hide in the wilderness, they don't actually possess outstanding survival skills. If they really took off into the mountains, they would end up in a desperate situation pretty quickly. Travis may be an exception to this trend. He does appear to be pretty comfortable living in the wilderness. As I mentioned, Travis seemed to be highly interested in Canada. It's not clear why he thought going there would be advantageous. The state of Washington doesn't have the death penalty, so Canada's policy of not extraditing suspects facing execution would have no bearing in this case. Item number 3. Whitney Decker has expressed her belief that the government bears at least some of the blame for the murders allegedly perpetrated by her ex-husband, Travis Decker. The limited availability of mental health resources for veterans is one area of concern. Whitney said, quote, "The system killed my children. The system failed us all, especially my girls," unquote. Her attorney indicated that Whitney has empathy for Travis even after this tragedy. Travis was a loving father who struggled with borderline personality disorder and PTSD. He was not a violent man, and he loved his girls. Item number 4, what do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Travis Decker had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, BPD, and had narcissistic personality features. BPD is characterized by frantic efforts to avoid abandonment, an unstable relationship pattern, affective instability, impulsivity, identity problems, and anger. Only 25% of people with this disorder are male, but research has suggested this is due to a bias in assessment. BPD may actually affect both sexes at similar rates. When BPD is present in a man, it has a high level of comorbidity with a few different disorders, including PTSD, which Travis has as well. Travis had attempted to get mental health counseling at various times, but did not appear to have a substantial level of success. He did not have a history of violence, but when he was married, Travis would wake Whitney up in the middle of the night screaming. It's not clear if this was intended to be an act of aggression against her or something like flashbacks from PTSD. In the time leading up to the tragedy, Travis encountered a number of adverse circumstances. For example, he had been in motor vehicle collisions on May 4 and May 27, 2025. One of those resulted in a ticket due to his alleged failure to maintain automobile insurance. Travis had severe financial problems. He was $20,000 in arrears with child support. According to a statement he made in court, he had once earned $86,000 a year, but that dropped to $38,000 a year. On June 2, 2025, the day Travis picked up his daughters, he was talking about getting rid of his dog due to his financial problems. He was also quieter than usual on that day. When a parent murders their children, which is the crime that Travis has been accused of, it is referred to as filicide. Researchers have observed a few common motives for this crime. Altruism. This is when the father believes that he is doing a favor to his children, like death is better than suffering. He is protecting them from more pain. Acute psychosis. Here the father is having hallucinations and/or delusions. He is separated from reality. For example, command hallucinations ordering him to kill his children. Spousal revenge. Here the father is getting revenge against the mother of the children for actual or perceived injustices. This is often the motive when there has been a recent divorce and/or custody dispute. Accidental killing during physical violence. This is where the father did not intend to kill, but death resulted from physical harm anyway. The last motive is unwanted child. This is where the father kills to free himself from a perceived obstacle, burden, or hindrance. For example, the father has a new romantic interest, and he believes his children are getting in the way of him moving on. The most common motives for a father who committed this crime are spousal revenge and accidental. After this, we see unwanted child, psychosis, then altruistic. Looking at the case of Travis Decker, if he did what the police accused him of doing, what was his likely motive? It's probably safe to rule out accidental killing. He did not kill his 3 daughters by accident. The murders involved plastic bags and zip ties. The crime was intentional. Travis did not appear to be psychotic. He had mental health symptoms, but psychosis was not one of them. As far as the unwanted child motive, there was no mention of Travis trying to find a new romantic interest, and there's no reason to believe he did not want his children. It actually seems like Travis wanted to see his daughters more, not less. This only leaves 2 possible motives: spousal revenge and altruism. Travis divorced in 2023, and he was involved in a custody situation he viewed as unfavorable. This puts him at a great risk for spousal revenge. Altruism seems less likely as a motive for Travis. This often involves the annihilation of the entire family, including the perpetrator. Here we see that Whitney was not harmed, and Travis is missing. Presumably, he is alive. In my opinion, I believe the most likely motive was spousal revenge. Travis was overwhelmed. He was tired of experiencing setbacks, and he decided to send a clear message of revenge, one that was unmistakable, sadistic, and would forever solidify his position as a monster. Now moving to my final thoughts. No single attribute ensures the recognition of fathers who go on to commit filicide. Rather, a collection of characteristics must be considered. One important characteristic, regardless of the motive, is personality pathology. When antisocial, borderline, or narcissistic traits are present, mental health clinicians should assess for the risk of filicide. Often, mental health counselors are reluctant to do this because they don't want to seem accusatory and judgmental. For example, they don't want to ask a father, "So, are you toying around with the idea of wiping out your entire family?" There are ways to assess the situation more diplomatically. For example, exploring any disturbing thoughts or feelings around the idea of violence, and then moving more specifically into the realm of family members. Yes, many fathers would be offended by the suggestion that they would be a killer, but this could also open a dialogue which prevents a tragedy. Those are my thoughts on the case of Travis Decker. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. In many of the cases that I've covered over the years, one theme that becomes apparent is this idea that people try to avoid suffering from mental health symptoms. For example, maybe feelings of depression. But at some point, if they cannot resolve the feelings, if they cannot feel better, they are okay with the idea of causing the pain that they have to be spread to everyone around them. So they just give up on trying to improve and instead say, well, now everybody can suffer along with me. This is not only true with depression, but it can be the case for other symptoms as well. I think what happens here is that the personality pathology really factors into this equation. So if somebody happens to be narcissistic, if they are self-centered and have a sense of entitlement and believe themselves to be special, if they're grandiose and dominant, they would be more likely to focus completely on their own needs. Like they're not really worried what happens to anyone else. So if they can't improve, then it kind of feels satisfying to make other people suffer. Now other people can know their pain. They don't believe that other people would have empathy. Like they don't believe that other people could understand what they're going through without feeling the same pain. But they certainly believe that doing something awful like homicide will cause others to suffer in a similar way. So that's the route that they go. They're forcing the situation. They're making sure that other people experience terrible pain. And for them, this is somehow justice. This is somehow a good alternative. They can't improve, so why not make everyone suffer? Sometimes this is done gradually, simply by harassing, threatening, or otherwise aggravating other people. At other times, perhaps something like what happened in the case of Travis Decker, the incident is sudden. The individual with the narcissistic characteristics decides this is the moment. This is when they're going to cause a massive amount of suffering for everyone. This dramatic incident is what they will be known for forever, but they don't care because they got to bring other people down with them.